Hello all, this is Starbird, and I disagree. This video was referred to me to take a look at in response to my earlier video about MGTOW, since apparently my own ideas line up well with a chap that the Turd Flinging monkey is responding to. There is some overlap, but after watching it a few times, not really. To be perfectly honest, I was a little concerned about doing one on TFM so soon. He is one of YouTube's big MGTOW guns these days, and actually one that I mostly enjoy, despite disagreeing with on quite a few levels. And so I have a feeling that this could be like calling in a missile strike on myself. But God hates a coward. This video is an excellent opportunity for me to refine some of the things that I said in the previous videos. Keep in mind that I am constantly reformulating my own opinions on things like this, so you may notice a few shifts in position, and yeah, it's sometimes hard to mix entertainment with commentary, as naturally you walk a tightrope between being entertaining and being a glib bastard. Finally, if you do end up watching this TFM, I'm not going to tackle everything you say or the other chap said in this video. If I skip something, assume that I agree with it for the most part, or that I don't consider it important in this context. I haven't seen everything you have made, being somewhat new to this whole YouTube thing. If you've dealt with something I mentioned before, feel free to point it out. Anyway, on with the show.
So the real question is, when a cherished institution becomes corrupted, when it becomes tainted by secular dogmas like feminism, what do you do?
I think the problem is that MGTOW doesn't want to change, reform, or improve the situation regarding marriage. It wants to do away with it entirely, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, I guess. I believe that marriage can be fixed, and that eventually it will be. Once I get through my current backlog of videos, I'm going to do one on exactly this. Let's just say that some of the more archaic and onerous laws regarding divorce are probably going to change in the near future, and the change is being held up by, well, you'll see. It's not who you think.
Do you continue to support the institution despite it being completely tainted and corrupted, or do you oppose it?
Honestly, I would have to say fix. It's not a perfect analogy, but when the oil in my car gets contaminated, I change the oil. I don't get rid of the car. Certain aspects of marriage, divorce, and custody law in particular really do need an overhaul, and there are movements such as the MRM, as well as movements within the legal system that do aim to do this. It's a really interesting topic, and I'm still putting together articles on this for a later video.
Now, as a traditionalist, you're doing the former. You're supporting marriage despite it being corrupted, despite it veering far away from what it was originally intended to be. As MGTOW, we oppose it. It's become too corrupted. It's time to just avoid it. It's time to pull the plug, put it down, and bury it. However, this doesn't mean nothing should be there to take its place. I've advocated in a couple videos about replacing marriage with private contracts, wherein a man and a woman come together and they agree on specific terms. The woman wants to be taken care of financially, the man wants sex and children. They come up with some kind of agreement, they both sign, they both have a family.
Making private contracts sounds great, but like a lot of MGTOW thinking, it involves a dramatic and probably unrealistic change to society that comes with a lot of its own problems. In brief, my worries would be, contracts can be expensive to draw up. Marriage is a massive industry. Contracts could be coercive, unequal, or drawn in bad faith. Yeah. Marriage has similar problems, sure, but I don't see how private contracts fixes this. And mostly, it would be extremely hard to implement this system in the society we have now, not only due to the institution of marriage going back basically as far as civilization does, but since society right now is plagued with social justice and feminism, as well as industries that rely on marriage, and this would likely inform any new systems being implemented. This is one of the common themes of MGTOW that is both admirable and self-defeating. It is overly idealistic and progressive, which is fine as a personal ideology, but not as an evangelical one.
It's worth pointing out that you don't need marriage to have a family. Animals throughout the animal kingdom, other than humans, every single animal species has been able to form families for untold millennia without any government, without any religion. They just pair off, have kids, raise their kids, and then they go about their business.
Sure, you don't need a family to have children, but humans are not animals, at least not in the sense you're talking about. We aren't trying to raise puppies or kittens or ferrets. We're trying to raise humans. The nuclear family has been shown to have a significant positive effect on the prospects and development of children, with children from single-parent households having significantly worse prospects.
The primary reason that a woman wants to get married is because she wants to make sure she's financially supported for the rest of her life by her husband. That's the primary reason why women want a man to commit, put a ring on it, and get married.
Okay. Firstly, you need to specify more clearly which women you are talking about. To be honest, I've been looking into this quite a bit, and there doesn't seem to be too much data on this issue. So I can only speak intuitively, but I would say that if you, looking at the state's excluded welfare moms, college dropouts, etc., you would see a different picture. Speaking purely anecdotally, the majority of women I have met line up with the Pew stats fairly well, marriage being more about companionship, tradition, and yes, procreation, than simply financial security. Sure, financial security helps a couple as a unit, but I believe that you are falling into a bit of a nihilistic trap here. You assume that every member of a group has a darker motive than they really do.
Yes.
He gonna die.
No, I'll have to call him back. Oh, and I need another math guy. You know, the dude with the charts and shit.
He dead.
Yeah, him. I need another one. Yeah, and a cleanup crew. Oh, and another shoe. Left. No, Prada. Whitey Redlin, my Harvard-educated president of entertainment. Tell me about the evil shows you have in development.
What's the primary reason a man gets married? When it comes to what the man wants, the woman has no obligation to provide it. The woman does not have to give you sex, ever. She can cut you off at any time for any reason, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, the woman can, and it's really shitty. I'll be the first to agree that the risks of marriage are not even enough for men and women. However, there are plenty of situations I can think of in everyday life where we enter a risky situation on good faith, and the risks are not equal between both parties. And the reason we do so is that the benefits overall outweigh the risks.
So what benefit does a man have if the primary benefit, which is sex, there's no guarantee, it's not legally enforced at all? Then what's left? Children.
You're going to have to explain that to me. You're going to have to explain it very carefully.
Okay, wait. Aside from the purely physical benefits and aside from the massive benefits a two-parent household confers on children, there are quite a few studies that suggest being in a happy marriage confers a variety of other benefits to a man. Happily married men tend to be, well, happier, less depressed, more financially stable, and even live longer. There are quite a few benefits to being in a marriage as a man. This is where a risk-reward analysis is important, and while this will always be a personal choice, I would have to say that if you are careful when selecting your mate, it looks like you've got about a 10, maybe 20% chance of getting divorced at the outside. That is about 1.5 to 3 times less likely than your chances of being involved in a serious motoring accident in your life if you're a driver. Could the risks be better or more even? Of course. But I don't think it's as gloom and doom as MGTOWs make it out to be.
So the man wants to have children. Okay, but those children belong to the woman. If she wants to leave for any or no reason, she's going to get the children. It's extremely rare even to just simply get joint custody.
Yeah, custody is fucked up, and it's actually quite hard to find modern stats on this. But the best I can come up with are these, which seem to indicate that joint custody agreements have been steadily increasing since the 70s. and that higher income or more favorably socioeconomically situated parents are more likely to have joint custody in some form if a divorce occurs. Once again, I firmly believe that lower income brackets and the situation with welfare moms throws these stats off immensely. Finally, one of the other stats I'm looking at is that around 70% of custody agreements in modern times seem to be settled without the help of the courts. Custody laws stem from very old, very mean-spirited precedents, but this does seem to be gradually improving. I'm very curious if you have some data that indicates contrary to mine. As I said, this was quite hard to research.
If your goal is simply to have children, whether or not you're even a part of the child's life, then why not just donate sperm?
The problems with being a sperm donor is that while you do, to some degree, guarantee procreation, I'm still going to point you in the direction of stats on single parenthood versus dual parenthood. For the interest of the kids, a dual parent household is best.
Don't do it privately because you could be hooked for child support. In fact, there are some cases where sperm bank donors have been sued for child support.
I looked into this and I only found one case, and it looks like that it was dismissed. I'm not saying you're wrong here, but can you link me the specific cases you're talking about?
But generally, if all you want is genetic propagation, you just want to have kids, you're not worried about whether they get taken away or whether you're a part of their life, then just donate sperm. So according to most traditionalists, he's a winner. He's an alpha male. He's just had hundreds of kids. Oh, it's so wonderful.
Once again, it's not just about having children. It's raising children effectively. I think you're misunderstanding traditionalism here. It's not just about genetic propagation. It's about the happiness of the unit and the quality of new humans produced under said unit in society later on.
And I talked to you in the comment section of this video, and I made the point that a woman can destroy your life. It's such a huge risk, and you never know if she's lying or not. Like when you first meet a girl, she can be all sugar and spice. She can put on the mask. She can tell you everything you want to hear. And your response is that you just need to be a good judge of character. But how many people get defrauded every day?
How many people get defrauded? I agree that it's too easy for women to defraud men in the West, with little to no risk to themselves. But there are other systems, such as those in China, where the opposite is true and women can get really screwed. I absolutely agree that Western society has gone too far in a liberal feminist direction and does need some counterbalance. But I don't think the situation you've made out is really indicative of real life. As I've discussed in my previous video, the rates of divorce fall sharply when you look at couples who are more conservative, make smarter life choices, have stronger social support systems, and are closer to the middle class. Looking at states in America where this seems to be more the case, divorce rates fall sharply and under 10% in some cases. Are these odds good enough? I don't know. I personally think that yes, they are. Of course, this is a personal decision, but once again, I think people should be a little mindful of the real facts and not the much-touted 50% figure.
The problem isn't the women. The problem is the system. The problem is the gynocentric society.
Okay. If the problem is society, then why don't we work on changing society?
I mean, just imagine a country, a hypothetical country, where men were allowed to freely dump their wives after decades of them being loyal wives and mothers for younger women. There was no child support, no alimony. They could just freely get rid of their wives, get new wives, and start the process over again, and the mother and the children were left on their ass. Would women want to get married in that country?
That's actually a pretty cool thought experiment, but I would have to say that women would still want to get married. If you look at a lot of the Third World, the Middle East, and some Asian countries, divorce and marriage can be pretty damn rough on women, and yet they still get married. I'm not going to go into the evolution of marriage here, since it's a really fun topic and I actually want to save it for another video, but let's just say that there are plenty of evolutionary and sociological reasons why people want to be married.
The proper response would be to try to change society. Or, as we both agree society isn't going to change, just say fuck it. Chuck it in the fuck it bucket and just live your life.
And why do you think that society won't change? Keep in mind that we are in the middle, or maybe even the tail end, of a feminist liberal cataclysm, and this will hopefully not always be the case. Alimony laws are in fact changing, and the rates of stay-at-home dads and dads receiving alimony is climbing. So I think that's me done here. This was actually quite a lot of fun to make. I got to do some cool research. As I've said a few times before, MGTOW is a tricky one to tackle because there's so many different variations of it, and so when you try to tackle one, you will inevitably be pointed at some other YouTuber or told that no, that's not my MGTOWism. Overall though, while I completely understand and do sympathize with MGTOWs, I think that a lot of the YouTube MGTOWs rely on bad stats and scare tactics rather than looking at the situation as it is and how it's most likely going to be in a few years' time. While I do believe that most MGTOWs are well-intentioned, even the evangelical ones, they do risk leading men into situations which will quite probably be detrimental to them and to their future offspring. I think that changing society from within is going to be a lot easier than inflicting change on it from without, and I still believe that disengagement solves nothing. Thanks for listening. Cheers all.
Bad monkey!
Kid, stop that.
No! I'm spanking the monkey!